Greetings and salutations, friends. My name is, of course, Charles Q. Banks, and I'd like to welcome you to the first ever episode of Charles' Classic Tier List. And today I'm making a tier list of romance anime, because I thought it was necessary. Not because it was a trend or anything, no, but because certain YouTubers have recently been doing a lot of romance anime tier lists, and I've been unsatisfied with them or dissatisfied with them basically every time I watch them. Especially egregious is Digibro's romance tier list, and he's seen so few compared to myself, I was shocked. Like, I've only seen over maybe 200 anime in general, like that's including other genres, but I'd seen so many more romance anime than he'd had, that I felt the need, the duty yet, to make a tier list of my own in the romance anime genre. So here we go. I am excited. This first tier list I have made as such. I have lots of lists of anime, but this is, I think, a good way to get involved with the popular scene. Kids are doing these things nowadays, right? So here we go. We have a list of seven different rankings that are positive, all the way up to godlike, all the way down to flatulence, or flunking, depending on what you want to say. You can choose what that means. So here we go. Here is one that I haven't seen, but I am interested in. It kind of has a magical girl art style, and that's Ai Yoriyusha, I think. Very pretty, very nice style. I love the 90s and 2000s style. Nana. I've been sort of recommended this. Everyone who watches it says that it's a miserable time, and I'm not so interested in being miserable, but apparently it has like a very in-depth look at the negative side of relationships. So we'll skip that for now. I don't know what this is. It looks like the same artists who did Ranma One Half. Maybe it is, but whatever it is, I haven't seen it. I really haven't seen Ranma One Half either. I've seen like maybe one episode, but I couldn't tell you what I thought about it. If it is Ranma One Half, which I doubt, it didn't seem like my kind of comedy. But here is Tomorrow's Cantabile, which I'm very interested in seeing. It has a very high rating on my anime list, and it seems like a classic, but kind of a forgotten one. And I wanted to watch it to get my own thoughts out on it eventually on YouTube, but just haven't gotten around to it. I haven't been in the mood, I suppose. There seems to be an excellent Japanese live-action version, apparently, and that I haven't seen either. Here we go. Kimi no Todeke. Finally one that I've seen. This show is definitely godlike. I'm not sure whether to put it in S or godlike, because, well, there might be a few others that I rank higher than it, but they may all be interlinked in the same god tier. But this show is brilliant in that it has a different take than most romance anime. Most romance anime have this kind of back and forth between the good main character and the bad secondary character, and the good one is trying to get rid of the faults of the other, or vice versa, the horrible first character and the good second character. That's seen in other shows. But this one, both characters are perfect. They're so perfect. They're super humble, Christ-like, sacrificial, self-denying, almost to the point of self-flagellation. And that becomes an obstacle in and of itself, despite all of the other troubles that they have in getting together. And the main character, Sawako, she is so cute and adorable in every iteration, whether she is chibified or whether she is shoujoized in the art style. She goes through quite a few different iterations throughout the show, depending on the type of scene that's going on. If it's comedic, it'll be more chibified. If it's more adult and dramatic, it'll be more shoujo-y, shoujo-esque, which I love the shoujo style, and this has it in spades. It's one of the few romance anime that really has that, and I like it. It also has a really well-developed cast of characters with side characters that get almost as much attention as the main characters, and I really like that. Specifically, the tall side girl, she has multiple relationships that she is seeking, but is jilted in almost every one of them. And she just has to deal with that. And most of those types of side characters who are into one of the main characters and have to, just be jilted and run away are forgotten and done away with out of the show. Not so here. Every side character in the show either becomes friends with the main characters or just has their own arc separate from everyone else, and it's very well done, very well written. Anyway, I'm done gushing about that. I believe this is Suzuka. Have not seen it, but the art on the cover, very attractive. I don't generally look for the sports Genki style characters, waifus, but very attractive. I don't know. I might give it a shot. I'm not a sportsy guy. I don't know if you could tell. So here we have Mischievous Kiss. I love this show to death. It is in S tier. I don't know if it's godlike. It might be. It might be godlike. I'll put it up there with it even now. It is definitely worth watching. It is a little long for, it feels a little long sometimes. It's not as well produced or drawn as Kimi ni Todoke, but the story is so good. And it has this very cartoony feel. A comet literally comes and destroys the main character's house in the first few scenes, and that's just hilarious. And that's kind of, she's like the Wile E. Coyote of love. She just can't get a break, this gal. And she's redhead, which, particularly attracts me to her, and she's kind of an airhead at the same time, but she's really determined. She is the shoujo protagonist that just cannot be denied. Nothing can get her down, and she's super foolish, super stupid, but she doesn't care. She will get through life anyway, and that kind of determination under duress, that kind of endurance through disability and illness and all these different things that happen throughout this show is so admirable, and you just love this character despite how idiotic she always is. Like the scope of this show is massive. It goes from being a single teen just getting out of high school to trying to get a job, falling in love, being jilted multiple times, going into college, and then getting married, having babies, getting other jobs, houses and estates. It's like every period of life, except for being elderly, are explored in this anime, and it's amazing, the fact that it goes through so many eras of the main character's life. And of course, the protagonist man, the love interest, is the stereotypical, but even worse, cold-hearted, kind of tsundere man. Every male in almost, okay, this is big generalization, but most males in romance anime, especially shoujo, tend to be this like almost Spock-like logical, cold-hearted, emotionless people that somehow get won over by the girl. And that's definitely this guy, but he's not just cold-hearted. He is an absolute jerk, even to her. And he continues to be a jerk throughout his entire life. The amount to which he softens in getting to know her is like very little, but it's just enough to make him into a good man. Which kind of goes to show you can't really change a man, because she falls in love with him, and she even falls in love with his jerkishness, and she sees her getting jilted by him as her deserving it. And so then she goes, tries to get better, gets a job, does everything she can to win him over, and he still is like, I don't care, I don't love you. You're stupid. And why would I fall in love with someone who's stupid? And then she's like, ah. So anyway, go watch it. It's worth your time. Okay. Here's going from God tier to, I don't know, B tier. It's right in the middle, I would say. And that's not saying it's a 5. That's just saying it's middling for me in the romance genre. It's not bad at all. I wouldn't put it in any negative territory. But I don't know if I would give it special popular or special positive marks for what it is, although it is very enjoyable. It's definitely a fan service show, which I'm not into fan service shows. They're usually too crude, too stupid, too gross for me. But this show kind of keeps that to a minimum, even though there is constant fan service. It keeps it to a very low threshold that I can tolerate, and it's a very interesting fantasy world that's kind of like I can't think of the word, but it makes fun of the Harry Potter world. It's basically just a magical school, high school, of course, and the Zero no Tsukaima, the witch, the pink-haired girl, is a witch who just cannot do magic well, and she accidentally summons a human from our world into their world where magic happens, and his earthly ways of thinking, his modern technological advancements that he has going for him don't really matter because she is making a slave out of him. His abilities, his thought patterns that come from modern day in our world kind of translate into that world in a unique way that everyone kind of values. He knows a lot about science and these things, and he has a way of dealing with people that is kind of equal. He is a slave of the pink-haired girl, and she is always whipping him into shape. She hates him. She doesn't want him as her slave, but she has to keep him, and she's the ultimate tsundere type. And it really works in this show. Doesn't feel too cliched. It's really enjoyable, and it's that same voice actress who does every single tsundere girl character, and she nails it in this show. So I like this show quite a lot, but it's not up there with the previous two. So moving on. Oh gosh, Shakugan no Shana. This is a hard one because even though it's difficult to think of this as a romance show, even though I think when you think about it, it definitely is, because it is so focused on action. This is a hard one. I'll put it here for now. This show is one of the ones that really impressed me when I started getting into anime. Not because of the looks, not because of how it was animated, but for the designs and the storyline. I stayed through all the fan service. I stayed through the stupid, use of CGI. The first scene is a character, the main character, the very blank slate character, good boy protagonist, walking along the pavement, and the pavement is 3D, but he's not, and it's not synced up. He's going a certain speed, and the pavement is just rushing past him. So it's absolutely horribly integrated CGI whenever it's on screen. But the story is this girl, the fiery-eyed, red-haired swordswoman, has this pendant that talks to her, and there's this spiritual realm. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but the realm of demons, I guess, which has its own power grid, its own environmental atmospheric power that she is drawing upon to go and kill other demons. And her own necklace is a demon that talks to her. leading her to the other demons to kill. And it's because in this other realm, there are random, like, rogue elements of demons, and then there are good demons. And the one she has on her necklace is a good demon. And she comes to this high school looking for these demons, and specifically looking for quote-unquote treasure pieces that are found in people. And apparently, people are the food source for demons, specifically their souls. And everyone has a soul. He has a soul, and he gets part of his soul sucked out, but he somehow is able to live through it. A lot of the character designs are really crazy, and a lot of the designs for the demons are really crazy. The first demon is like a multi-eyed, multi-faced giant baby monster who threatens to crush him, and he like gets cut in two, but is somehow still able to live. And it's because he has this spiritual treasure piece within him that demons are looking for. It's a very convoluted, messed up, crazy, magical plot line with all of these different categories of demons, all these different categories of treasure pieces, as they are called, which are very, very ethereal, very abstract ideas. So it's hard to get into, but if you stay with it, it's astounding how consistent the magic in this show is. And it's very interesting, and you go to the other world, you go to the backstory of Shauna, who has an amazing character design. I think this show became popular due to her character design alone, because it really does slow down many, many times, even in the first season, with just time taken explaining villains' backstories, which we really didn't need to know. But it really paints the world as a complicated place, with even villains having good reasons for doing what they're doing. And it becomes more and more complex as time goes on. It basically becomes like a political thriller, with war between the demon realm and our realm constantly almost happening. It's like a cold war between the demons and the humans. It's very interesting once you get past the like really cliched romance subplot, which is like something that you stick around for or you come for, but it kind of gets swept under the rug a lot of the time. The main character likes Shauna, but he really hates the kind of murderous way that she goes about her business. And she, like, hates him at first, total tsundere, but of course she learns to love him. But then once she starts loving him, he starts distancing himself from her because she will not go back on her murderous intention to just kill any demon that goes out of line. And he's like, no, we need to save as many people as possible. We need to try and save these demons. We need to understand their point of view. And she's like, no, this is war. We're keeping war from happening. And so the crazy thing is, this show, while I enjoyed the first season very much, it really ramps up in the third season. And the main character, our blank slate protagonist, because of everything that he did, because of what he said, the fact that he was a blank slate, the fact that he was just a good boy, led to him becoming the villain in the third season. And Shakugan no Shana, she has to actually fight him in the third season because of what he's become, and she doesn't want to do it. So it's very satisfying if you stick through it, but it is very low quality animation for the most of it. And same thing as Kimi ni Todoke. Very well developed side characters in this show, but you really have to go through a lot of crap to get to the gold here. I'm going to put it in A. All that to say, we'll put it in A. As you can see, this is not going to be a quick one. Okay, baseball, not interested. Haven't seen it. Okay, here's one. I don't know what to think. Interestingly enough, this is the same voice actress. If you can see, I'm just putting them here so you can see. These two characters look the same. Okay, all of these characters have the same voice actress. The pink-haired one in Zero no Tsukaima, the blonde-haired one in oh gosh, what is it? Toradora, Taiga, Palm Top Taiga, and Shakugan no Shana are all voiced by the same character actress. And they're all tsunderes. So it's amazing to see them all together. And they have the same character design almost. It's amazing. So just so you know. But anyway, I would put this. I'm going to be a little controversial here and put it in A tier. This show, while it has great production quality, great character designs, great animation, I did not like the story very much because I did not like either of the main characters very much. It's been a while since I watched it. Maybe I should watch it again. But I got a very negative impression from this show. Everyone who I wanted to succeed in love were the side characters that got jilted. And the two characters were not characters I wanted to get together. I wanted the main boy to get together with the redhead because I'm a redhead fetishist, if you would call it that. It just seemed like the two main characters were getting together at the expense of everyone else. And there are these weird, like, plot twists where he actually likes the redheaded girl. And he doesn't learn until he's already basically engaged to the main character that she loved him the whole time. So it's like, for whatever reason, fate, the show, was keeping the two characters that I thought should have gotten together from being together, just so Taiga would get away from her father issues. I don't know. I felt very unsatisfied, but the level of production, attention to detail, and character development in this show, and even the fact that it's willing to face really negative consequences for a positive relationship, really do deserve to be up there in and recognized for the quality they have. But not to me. I didn't enjoy that show very much. Just saying. Okay, here's another one. I don't know whether to put this in God tier or not, but His and Her Circumstances. Oh boy, this one, very emotional. I love this show. It probably deserves to be in God tier. It's just that it's unfinished, and it doesn't really have a true ending. And a lot of the episodes near the end start to get more and more experimental in their art design because they were losing funding, they were losing time, not just because they were losing money, obviously. It was just that there was a lot of trouble, turmoil in the studios, and they couldn't keep making more, so they just had to stop at the end of the first season. And the animation at one point, I think in multiple episodes, turned into actual live action paper characters glued to popsicle sticks interacting with each other like puppets. Same thing with the entire episode, with all of the backgrounds, all the houses taped onto popsicle sticks. And it's like, oh man, I hated those. I hated those episodes. I couldn't even enjoy the story through those. So I think it deserves, at least in my opinion, to be up there, but not godlike, not god tier. If it were finished and had the same production quality, traditionally animated, I would be happier with it. I don't see a whole lot of good in super experimental styles because I view there to be objective quality in traditional styles that we can actually understand and grow in. The abstraction is fine, I guess, but I can't really judge that because it's outside the boundaries of objective technical appreciation. To me, although the story, I think, does deserve to be in God tier. The characters are so likable, so relatable. This is a very psychological show. Not just that it goes into the minds and pasts of the characters, but it actually has like Jungian psychology, throughout it. The main character, girl, is like this double-sided person putting on a facade for everyone, making everyone think that she's this amazing, perfect girl, whereas when she's at home, she's this absolute nerd, geek, lives in her pajamas at home, in her tracksuit, with giant glasses, and at school, she is this absolute idol of perfection. And it's hilarious to see her going back and forth between these two, and then getting called out on it every once in a while by the main boy protagonist, who is just a super sincere elitist. And so there's this interesting back and forth going on between the super sincere and the super insincere. So he's making her want to be more sincere, but she is making him more nervous about his life. He's so sincere that he becomes afraid of losing everything, and so elitist that he stresses himself out all the time. And she has both of these sides. There's like a lazy person and a geek, and the super elitist, studier, who's just a savant at learning things. And she's learned how to make herself popular. And that's what she cares about. But she learns to become less and less shallow because of getting into a relationship with him. And this is one of those shows that really does focus on the relationship side of it. It's not just obstacles tearing them apart, which does happen. It's also the fact that they have these deep psychological issues that conflict with each other. And there's even this really dark place in which the show goes, with wonderful animation that goes into his very dark side, his suicidal self, and his problems with his mother and father, his abuse in the past. It's very interesting, kind of has this industrial vibe to it, monochrome sometimes, and that's very interesting to me. And I just wish that this show had gone on longer. If that's the only real bad thing you can say about a show, that you wish it would have gone on longer, there's not much bad to say about it, although that animation quality dips quite a lot. So yeah, I like both of these characters. The voice acting in this show is top notch. Whatever it is, whatever types of microphones they used, it sounds really real. You can tell that they were in the same room. You can tell that there was like very little foam in the room to keep like echo from happening. So it just sounds super realistic, and the emotion comes out so well in these old shows. And I hope we get to Lovely Complex, because I really do feel like Lovely Complex and Isn't Her Circumstances are very similar shows in that department, in voice acting and in emotion, really. Okay, what the heck is this? This looks amazing, whatever it is. I cannot tell. I'm sorry. Maybe I'll look into my anime list. I don't know how far I'll have to look till I find it. Yeah, this is one of those that maybe I've seen. Not Excel World. Anyway, I don't think I will find it in here. So, oh well. What is this? Don't know it. Okay, here we go. This show, at the beginning, is very interesting. It's very edgy. Oraimo. Incest is wincest. So it starts out, in my mind, S tier. I don't think this deserves God tier at all. The animation quality is pretty consistent throughout the entire thing, and it's very good character designs. And I love the relatable way in which the characters learn about otakudom, and the way that the show talks about otakudom, especially in the first few episodes, is very interesting, very eye-opening and enlightening and relatable, at least for someone who has an obsessive, compulsive nature like myself. Maybe not so much compulsive for me, but she definitely is. And so the main character learns that his sister is really into, like, erotic anime and games, and manga and everything, and she just buys everything she can get her hands on and stuffs it all into her room and into her closet, and no one can get in there. But he learns of it, and he's kind of freaked out and a little bit turned on by this, and it becomes really awkward between them. But he's like, no, it's okay. You can be an otaku if you want. I won't tell anyone, but maybe you should get out of yourself and get into some other communities. He actually helps her, is very supportive of her, and she even tries to make her own anime at one point. Of course, it doesn't work, but they start to fall for each other, and there are many different side characters that come alongside them, and she befriends them, and all the awkward moments are great. This is very much a comedy. I didn't really talk about that, did I? Mischievous Kiss is probably the most comedic out of these, but Kimi no Todoke definitely does have a comedic element, and the comedy that is there is pretty golden, but it's not like a priority in Kimi no Todoke. His and Her Circumstances, especially in the first few episodes, is like a straight comedy, but it becomes more and more dramatic and more serious as the show goes on. It goes into some crazy, like, cartoony places that are hilarious and over the top, and I love it, that you don't really see that often in anime today. But Oraimo definitely has some good comedy. So it starts off at S, but as you see the show progressing more into incest, it starts to look more like this. So I don't know what to say about this. It's like, it's so influential, and that's the problem. Like, it's basically a show that leads to almost incest, and the characters just deny everyone else but their brother and sister. And it's very annoying, because they know it's wrong, you know it's wrong, and you know they should be with everyone else, but they don't go there. So, I don't know. The production quality is up there, but I have to put it on C. I loved this show when I first started watching it, but then I realized what I'd gotten myself into, and I couldn't handle it. So, continuing on, Kaicho wa Maid-sama. This is a great show. I enjoyed watching it, but it's a bit too cliched. It is interesting at the start. It is very much kind of like a feminist agenda, which I'm not totally against all feminism. This is a very positive feminist take, in which the character, the main character, is a president of her school in her class, and she's like an absolute hammer. She just is extremely strict, extremely orderly, and no one likes her because of that. She's very mean-spirited because she's just so by the book, and that's actually pretty funny, her interactions with all the other students, but she's actually a very nice and kindly person with a poverty-stricken household. There are tons of holes in their flooring, and their parents are very... I think that their parents are divorced or something. They only have the mother living there, and I think she has 2 siblings, which you don't really see very much of. You see the young boy, and he's a comedic element all on his own, reactionary person. And she is also, despite how, gloriously perfect a person she is and mean-spirited person she is by day at high school, on the weekends she is a maid working at a maid cafe, and she is happy, bubbly, the perfect maid character to work at a maid cafe. And this show starts off telling you the positives of being a waitress in a maid cafe. It's not all just sexual. It's not all just catering to, misogynists. But as the show goes on, that gets disproven because there has to be some kind of back and forth, some kind of good versus evil going on. And so multiple times throughout the show, the characters say, it's safe being a maid at a maid cafe. It's 90% positive, but just as many times as it's positive, there are just as many creeps that the main character has to be saved from. So she is also shown to be like a judo practitioner and very capable of defending herself in the first few episodes, but as the male protagonist gets more into the story, she becomes more of a weakling princess, and he has to save her all of the time, which is exactly like the opposite of what the purpose of the show was at the beginning, showing that she could be independent and take care of herself as a maid and put herself in these different situations in which she is more prone to danger and still come out okay. But no, she has to be saved by the main character all the time. So it's kind of a self-defeating plot. It goes into an interesting direction at first, and then it immediately nosedives into absolute cliches in romance and comedy. So actually, I would put, it's a good show. By no means is it a negative. Oh, this is difficult. I'm gonna put Oraimo lower. I'm gonna put Kaicho wa Maid-sama there. Oh, I really like it. It is a good show. It's more just a show to watch if you're bored. If you're looking for a show that's great, you won't find it in Kaicho wa Maid-sama. There are people who really love it, though. Is it better than Familiar of Zero? That is tough, man. I would say Familiar of Zero is much better at what it is and doing what it does than Kaicho wa Maid-sama is at doing what it is and what it does. The side characters aren't very interesting. There's like a butler and maid Olympics that happens, and it's very weird and very odd, and she gets like almost raped 3 times throughout the show, and it's like, this is uncomfortable. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it there at C. And F is like really low, but I don't know. Okay. I'm gonna put it B. It's middling. It's fair to middling. I should probably put this in A. Good grief. Yeah, this is probably how I feel about these A's. They're pretty good. They're above average. I like them, or they're just really high quality. Okay, you know what? Never mind. If this is just my enjoyment, not pertaining just to quality, this is how it would be. So, just so you know, Toradora, for most people, is basically like godlike, but for me, it's a B. Here we go again. Bakuman. Or Bakuan? Can't remember. Bakuman, I think. No, I don't know. I haven't seen it, so I don't know how to say it. This one, Gothic. Have not seen. It's on my list. I'm sorry. This one is F for me. I can't remember what it's called, but the boy is Puddinghead, and I watched the whole thing hoping that it would get better. It's basically just a fan service pun show with a ton of sexual innuendo. It is the crudest comedy show I have ever seen. Pretty good animation, I'd say. The character designs are very interesting and different, with a lot of gradients in the hair and all. There's like a lolly, like, what is she? She's a lolly nurse? No, she's actually a nun. She's a lolly nun. And there's like, oh man, there's so much fan service, I hated it. I don't know why I kept watching it. Every once in a while, I'd get a chuckle out of me. At one point, one of the girls puts a horse head on, and someone slaps her with the horse head, and it's hilarious. There are definitely some positive comedic elements in this, but oh boy, ugh. For now, I'm keeping it at flatulence level. I don't know what this is, so putting it in unseen. What is that? I don't know if this will work, but I'm gonna try to zoom in here. What is this? What? That is very colorful. It looks like a Bishoujo show, if that makes sense. Huh. I don't know. Whoa! Okay. Yeah, I haven't seen. This is on my list. Oh no, I have seen this. Um, let's see. What is this called? Ah, man, it's a show where these people they start having things happen to them. I honestly can't remember it. Uh, it was kind of forgettable, honestly. So, uh, it had some interesting psychology, some interesting spiritual elements to it. Dagnabbit. It does have romantic elements, but I wouldn't say that that's the main thrust of the show. Uh, I would recommend it to people who are into kind of edgy shows. One character commits suicide, but they kind of undo it, I guess. It was interesting. I was intrigued by it. If you know what this is, let me know in the comments. Okay, next, Tsukite Inoyo. This one I'm also perplexed about. It's one of those shows that's like an introverted girl is going to school and she's very kind of depressed and unhappy with her life. And like one of the first scenes is just this pillar of a cloud and she's standing there watching it and she's like the only one appreciating it. Then she has to go into the horrible life of society and everyone is just all about sex. Everyone is all just really shallow. And at one point, one of the side characters, the very like happy-go-lucky, crazy side character boy, kicks up her skirt to try and see beneath because she's wearing a super long skirt, and he thought it would be funny to try and peep up her giant skirt. And she immediately just kicks him right in the face, perfect kick, and he just goes flying. And it's a very realistic show, at least it tries to be. And so it was quite shocking to see a guy just get nailed in the nose. And and that's she kind of gets into trouble every once in a while of this nature because she's like above everyone else morally, but everyone kind of tries to get is basically into her even though she's not into anyone else. But she starts to get into this bad boy, and I don't know what else to say about it. He is a bad boy, and he's like this free love figure who just sleeps with everybody, and he starts like really wanting to get with her, and the fact that she doesn't want to be with him kind of makes him more into her. And so he starts to establish kind of a moral grounds for love based on her unwillingness to get together with him until he finally breaks down at the end and chooses to commit to her, which is good, but it's still like he's a super bad guy. And there are worse people that are, stacked up against them. But it's a very negative, emotion-filled show. It's not a feel-good show at all, but it is interesting to see like a different perspective here. It's very realistic, very grungy, like gangstery stuff going on. Very, again, I can't stress enough how realistic it feels, but I don't know how I feel about it. I think I watched the whole thing. It has very interesting animation. Hmm. Yeah, I'd keep it at C. Not good enough to be a B. To BB. Okay, here we go. Monster, my Little Monster, or The Monster Next to Me. This one I really enjoyed watching because it was in the era in which I started watching romance anime, and every romance anime I started watching was gold. And I really started liking this one because the animation is excellent. But it's the bad boy again. He just immediately says what he means, and most of what he says is sexual because most of what he's thinking is sexual. So he is super sincere about loving this girl, and she is just the perfect altogether woman. All she wants is to get a job and to be really good at it, and so all she cares about is grades. And this guy is an absolute terror in the school system. He's a total rogue, doesn't want to follow rules, has a very shaky future, and he just gets totally obsessed with her. He's totally sincere, totally like translucent. That's not the word. You get the idea. You can see right through him. He has no facade, no even inkling of being something other than what he is. And so he just loves on this girl constantly, and they have to create boundaries between each other that they both have to not cross if they're to be together. So that's positive, but it just ends right in the middle, and nothing really happened. It feels like it's going on at a steady clip, but all that's happened is she has focused on her studies, gotten distracted by him, they kiss, she decides to distance herself from him, and then at the end they decide, okay, we'll try to get this going, we'll try to be in a relationship, but we cannot kiss, we cannot be together too long, can't distract each other from our commitments, and it just kind of ends. And I'm like, it wasn't fulfilling. It was not satisfying, and yeah, it was not worth watching in the end for me. It just took time, you know. And if you want to watch something, this does have some nice visuals. So it's not F to me, but not very worth much. What is this? Have not seen. Okay, this thing. Pudding Girl, or Pet Girl, Kanajo, Pet Girl of Sakuroso. I may be butchering that. But I did not see any value in this show whatsoever. Tell me what you think about that show. It was very similar to the one next to it, actually. Main character gets in this situation where he's living in an apartment with a bunch of, like, absolutely moral-less human beings, and one of them happens to be this blonde girl who is... It's hard to say what she is. She's probably on the spectrum of, like, literally, she is a 6-year-old girl in her mind, but in a 18-year-old body, and that turns the main character on, because she doesn't really have a value for clothes, and she draws really well, and she draws, I think, erotic stuff all the time, and so she's really into that, and he's really into that too. Who wouldn't be? Someone who's absolutely sexually open. So it's just very crude, and I couldn't get into it. The comedy was not very good, but the characters definitely had chemistry. I can say that about it. But it didn't seem to be going anywhere. Like, I can remember things happening. I can remember a plane leaving. I can remember him joining something, and I can remember her doing things and losing things, but I didn't care in the end. It was all a blur. So it's very unmemorable. Like, people have talked about it, and I think it has a very high ranking on my anime list, but I could not see the value of it at all. It was just a big sex joke in the end. So yeah, not worth it for me. Chunibyo. Oh, I love Chunibyo. It's like seeing the inside of my soul. Chunibyo is. I'd put it in A. Maybe even S. No, A is probably makes sense. This show is adorable, incredible animation, incredible drawing, art style. It is a little bit on the too polished side for me. The styling is very, what would you say? In Hollywood, you have Oscar bait, and this is drawn like Oscar bait, and it does definitely have that very emotional, driving drama feeling of wanting to make you cry. But in the end, what I got out of it was the comedy. The comedy was amazing, and the story of children growing up and not letting go of being a child, always wanting to play, always wanting to play as if you are something else, someone else, using childlike play to get out of difficult situations is something that this girl does, and it's something that the main character used to do, and she does it constantly, and he has to like look out for her all the time because she's constantly getting herself in like stupid situations, almost falling to her death. He saves her multiple times, but she also has like this little retinue of people that also are in this Chunibyo mode. And there's the girl with the hair. You've seen it, you'll know what I mean. She has these like balls on the end of her hair that she uses as weapons, and they're super long, and it's hilarious, and I love it. I would recommend this show to absolutely anybody, especially for the comedy of it and the adorableness of it. The voice acting is great, very cute voice acting going on. I can't tell you how much I love the voice acting. Just look up Chunibyo Des, and you'll see what I mean. It may be annoying to you, but it was music to my ears. And the emotional and dramatic way in which this show goes actually is very satisfying and nuanced. It's not just get over it, be an adult. It's like, no. As people, we need to recognize that it is important to accept our childlike selves, but to move on from that, appreciating it, maybe even indulging it a little bit every once in a while, but to learn to be mature while keeping your childlikeness intact. And it's very difficult, and they are not able to get together as a couple because they're just not ready for it. Their mental states have not gone on past childhood, and that's okay. You know, it's okay to wait. It's okay to not hold hands immediately. It's okay to not even get into a relationship or say you love someone. But it is adorable how she basically says it without saying it. And it's a very hopeful show because it's like you can be immature and love someone and stay in a certain amount of distance but closeness in a relationship without losing the relationship, which is very encouraging because most of the time that's not the case. Most of the time, if a person isn't able to reciprocate, you just break up and it's horrible and you're on separate sides of the world, at least in your minds, and you try to be because it's easier to deal with that than always being close. And with these two, they're like, no, let's wait. Let's be okay with being friends for now, and maybe we'll get together later. Because they obviously care about each other, but the psychology of their minds and of their emotions is more important to them than the relationship they have, and that is very admirable. Watch it. It's a good one. Okay. My teen romantic comedy snafu. My old enemy. My old nemesis. Oh boy. Oh boy. This show. This dang show. I don't know what to think of it. I've seen it twice, and it is inconsistent in its animation, but the designs are very good. The types of characters in it are very like cliched, but very strong cliches. I can't really even summarize it because the main character is like this up his own anus, shy, stilted, depressed, black-pilled, that's a good way to say it, person who just thinks that everyone needs to die and he's the only good person in the world, and even he has problems, and he just can't get over the horrible social deceit that everyone is constantly going through in high school, and he just sits at his desk and goes through life and is just hoping for death, basically hoping to one day be free of society. And his teacher, who is just a babe, awesome character, is counseling him through life and like, you need to get into a relationship. You need to help other people. and she's really, really like strong on him and gets him to join a club. And the club is headed by an idealist girl who is also shy and introverted, but she is a social idealist, like that we can construct the perfect society ourselves. And I don't even know what the club was for immediately, but she forces these two people together, thinking these two are perfect for each other. They're perfect for each other romantically, and if they get into a romantic relationship, they will be able to even each other out. That doesn't happen. That's why it's called My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu. There's this other character, pink-haired girl, who actually is fully in love with the main character, and he doesn't care for her as a romantic person because he's more in like with the other girl, the president of the club, who's super orderly. And but there are so many idealistic clashes that nothing is able to happen. And he even like tries to be in a relationship with the pink-haired girl, which inevitably fails. And it's a very like political show, sociological, psychological, very unrealistic in terms of the way the characters interact, but it gets something across. And it's difficult to say what, but I enjoy the main characters. I really do, and I really relate to their struggles and their worldviews because in my darkest times, I am both of them. I can be like the guy who just hates everyone, or I'm the person who hates myself and gets super neurotic, and tries to fix everyone and do everything right and moralize the heck out of the world. So, and the strange thing is, these kids are thinking this way in high school, like, and even like the early stages of high school. And they go through, I think, the full 3 years of high school of these characters' lives and all of the different events that happen. And it's like they're thinking about world-shattering philosophies at a very young age while they're like going out on a field trip, And it's really difficult to get over the fact that this show feels incredibly, incredibly pretentious. And I think that's really what this show is. It's really, I don't know. I'm very confused as to how I feel about it. Again, in the end, spoilers, there is the sense that you don't have to get into a relationship. You can be friends. And, there is love lost and hopelessness comes through, but then the people are learning how to deal with loss in this show. So it's not satisfying, even once you've watched all of the seasons. I think there are 3 seasons. And there's a lot that this show has to say, but I don't know that any of it is actually tenable. It all seems like psychobabble. So I don't know. F, A Tale of Memories, and Tale of whatever else. I've never seen it. This is something that I've been remiss about as well, just like with Tomorrow's Cantabile. I love the character designs. It looks very Clannad-ish, but it looks more withdrawn, which I like. I like the black outfits. It's very attractive. Is this recent? Is this, I have no idea what this is. I haven't seen it. There is a show out now that is of a blue-haired girl who's like the ultimate study queen, and I want to see it, but haven't seen it, whatever that is, whether it is that or not. Okay, this, Golden Time. This show is great. It is pretty immoral. I will say that. It's characters in college, which is refreshing. And this character is kind of a tsundere, but she's crazy. She's absolutely nuts. She is also rich, filthy rich, and I can't remember what the deal is, but there's a relationship going on, and she doesn't really know how to be in a relationship. She's just chasing this guy down with roses, slapping him in the face with roses, and giving them to him because she loves him so much. She has no idea how to socialize with people because she's so filthy rich. And so I really liked this show. It's been a really long time since I saw it. It really goes through some adult themes. It talks about alcohol and sex and, money, and it's very edgy, is what I'll say, at least in terms of romance. But it's very funny, very realistic, very sincere. I would definitely recommend it to adults. Um, yeah, it's a great, great show. I think it's definitely underrated, um, but really powerful. I really enjoyed it, and I think A is what it deserves. Yes. Okay. It's not as good as the top three. It doesn't have this like blooming, amazing impression. But once you finished it, it's like, wow, that was really realistic. I can feel that these people might actually exist. These things could have happened. And it's funny and enjoyable. They get into a cult and have to escape. So some crazy things do happen, but really good. That seems familiar, but I don't think I've seen it. Same with this. This looks like a very nice art style that I would probably like, but nope. This is classic. I don't know what that is. Touch something. Okay, this. I can't remember what this is called, but Fish People. I didn't watch the full show, but I can definitely say what I think about it. I'm gonna leave it in C. Just like the other entries in C, it's very well done. I mean, it's way better done in terms of production quality. This is like the best production, how would you say it? Best produced anime. Like, it is godlike in its usage of both CGI and animation, drawn animation. But it's very slow and very strange. It's about people that live under the sea as well as on land. And these two worlds, the human land world and the world below, don't mind that. Hold on, I need to get that phone. Silence it. So, where was I? Yes, this show. I can't remember what it's called, but it's interesting. The world building is more interesting than what happens in it, and I like. Yeah, there are things I like about it. It's basically just the visuals that I like. It's very boring, very typical romance show, despite the fact that they're going between like Atlantis, literal Atlantis, and land. So I gotta leave that at C. Get it? At sea. It's out to sea. This does not seem familiar to me at all, but I like the hairstyles. Okay, this. I know this. This is Kanon. This is close to God tier. I don't. Does it deserve to be with his and her circumstances? Probably not. I'm gonna put it at A. Strange that there are more A's than B's or C's, but I really do love romance anime, and I loved this show. It kind of tickles your Clannad feelings. Like, I think this came out before Clannad, but it's the same type of show exactly. It's just a guy that's real good looking, roguish, has his own backstory, has a mother and a sister, and I think his sister is a stepsister, so there's kind of that non-dangerous incest going on. Or maybe it is dangerous, I can't remember. But the funny thing is about this show, which I don't really like, and about Clannad, is that the main female protagonist is basically a child. She like looks like a child, she acts like a child, and that's the same with Clannad. And there are so many other more attractive characters and more interesting characters, but it's very obvious that the writer and creators of both of these shows, which are the same, by the way, really love those lolly types. And I am not one of them, at least not that type of lolly. I'm more into the Victorian goth lolita. But whatever. This show does have a lot of cool characters, a lot of cool moments. There are even some like ghostly battle events that were really cool. The purple-haired girl on the bottom right, her story, her arc is my favorite, and I honestly cannot remember much of the rest. The red-haired girl is also attractive for reasons you should already know by now, and she turns into a fox girl. There's like a traditional mythological story going on, and that was really emotionally powerful. So there's enough here. There's a lot here to like, but if it's too slow for you, I can imagine you just not liking it. It is very slow. It is very slow and very long. It feels long, at least. Spice and Wolf. Is this even a romance show? I've seen one episode, and I was not interested, honestly. It's beautiful looking. I'm not too into economics. I've been taught a lot of economics, so it's just kind of boring to hear it all, you know, given to me again, recapitulated to me, once I already know it so well, in a different way. I don't know. The fox girl is really hot. She's very warm, like 200 degrees Celsius, but that's not enough to drive a show for me. I was not interested in continuing it, although it may be god tier in the end. I should probably watch the rest of it, is the long and short of it. Okay, Waiting in the Summer. Can't remember what it is in Japanese, but that's all I can remember. Summer Anohi. That day we waited in the summer, I think, is the full thing. This was a fun time. This was a really fun time. It wasn't like amazing. The show dips in quality quite a lot, but at its best, it's absolutely beautiful. Ranking right up there with this show, with the Fish Girl show. I just remembered the Fish Girl has fish fins growing out of her knees, and she doesn't want anyone to know. It's very funny. But anyway, this show, red-headed protagonist, thumbs up right off the bat. And it's a cinephile show. The main character is a gray-headed cinephile with eyeglasses. He really is into old-style film and making movies. And he is in high school. It's a high school drama. It's really fun. It reminds me a lot of Toradora. Has the same kind of arc, and strangely enough, the girl character is actually an alien. You learn that in the first episode, and that's weird. And it like that's only a little bit of the conflict in this show, is her trying to keep people from knowing, but she can't keep people from knowing because she's a blasted naive little girl from another world. She reminds me a lot of Starfire in what's it called? Teen Titans. Because she is pretty naive, not that naive. She does know a little bit about human society, and is therefore able to integrate very well. But she doesn't know anything about love, and so she really easily gets kind of just put away into the same house as the main character, and he has to deal with the fact that this beautiful girl is living in his house. And it's actually not inappropriate. It's very appropriate. There's not a whole lot of fan service, but he is very awkward around her. It's a very awkward situation, and they learn to love each other. And there is quite a good bit of them being lovey-dovey, which you don't see a lot of. Of course, it's near the end of the show, once all of them have dealt with all of their love triangles, because there are like 6 other characters that all are in love with each other. 3 and 3, And it gets a little tiresome to have to go through every single character's story arc. But there are some really interesting arcs in here. One having to do with a secret nudist who has troubles integrating into society because she wants to escape her nudist lifestyle, but finds it difficult because that's all she's known. It's like, what? Where did that story come from? I've never heard of that. That's very interesting. And it's not inappropriate. It's just something that might happen in real life. And this person just realizes one day, everyone's clothed, and I'm going to school, and I'm usually not clothed. What's wrong here? Something's going on. My parents didn't show me this. My parents haven't taught me correctly. I need to learn to become a real person. So that's interesting, but others of them are just really, really boring. And it doesn't focus on the two main characters the entire time. If it did, it still would be pretty boring because it's just them living out their daily lives, trying to deal with the fact that they like each other and that she's a real alien and they can't say anything. So it's just that kind of tension throughout the whole show. The end is crazy. Some MIB crap goes down, and it's hilarious and fun. So I would recommend it. I would, if you feel like the story is getting boring, it is. There are definitely some boring parts in the middle. But it all is basically fulfilling and satisfying in the end. Yeah, it's like a 8 out of 10, 7 or 8 out of 10. But all of these are higher in my opinion. Well, maybe I can't. Ugh, this is rough. Okay, I'm gonna put, when you see things put up against each other, you realize what you actually value. And yeah, this go down here. This probably goes up here. Yes. Okay. Moving right along. I actually like that day we waited in the summer much more than I actually thought I did. Okay, what is this? I do not know what that is. Gosh darn it, why are there so many that I don't know? Oh well. Same thing with this. Yep, never seen it. Okay, here we go. Aoharu Ride. Blue Spring Ride. This is one of my favorite romance anime. Really relatable for me at a time of life where I was going through a lot of the same things that the protagonists were. Very interesting, at least once you get into the boy's lifestyle, because he's, again, kind of a bad boy. He's not really a bad boy, but he does hang out in bad boy circles because he wants to get away from the deceit of life, kind of like in Snafu. But so he's like a conglomeration of the boy in Snafu and Tsukite Inayo, because he can't deal with deceit. He will not put up with it. He is a jerk to people who put a fake mask on in society. He cannot condone it at all. And this girl has learned to put on a mask in society to be a popular girl, not to the full extent of this girl in his and her circumstances, but to a pretty effective degree with two of these really popular girls. And he makes her realize that she's been insincere. And she admires this about him, but it kind of hurts that he is so straightforward with her. And yeah, they get put into a lot of the same situations. They could go on field trips, and she gets her heel basically sprained or almost broken, and he has to carry her. And I can just remember having similar experiences of being really uncomfortable and on field trips and having someone I like, and it was just a horrible time of being so awkward with this person you like while being so in pain, and you want to grit your teeth and bear it, but you can't. And so you're trying to put on this facade that everything's okay and you're cool, but your foot is screaming at you and you haven't drunk enough and you almost faint. Anyway, there are a lot of similarities between this girl's life and mine. Um, so, and you know, they get together in the end, and it's a good show. Um, I might put Golden Time above it, though. You know what? Never mind. Let's just put Golden Time in S. That makes sense. Okay. For me, at least. Here we go. Manga girl. Dang it, I can't remember the name. This show is enjoyable. It is one of those shows that is comedic and has a subplot of romance that you want to see fulfilled. But it always isn't. It's always put off, you know, to the nth degree. Up until the end, where it's slightly less put off. So it really doesn't go anywhere. The story really doesn't go anywhere. It just really focuses in on that humor between all of the different characters, and there are tons of different characters, and each one of them is interesting and fun and funny. I particularly like the tall, blue-haired girl who's very masculine. She's really cool. I just gotta say that. What else? Nuzaki-kun. That's what it is. Just look up Nozaki-kun and you'll find it. It's a worthy show. It's very well done. The animation is very neat, clean, tidy. The intro is much better drawn than the actual show, so that's kind of a disappointment. But it's a good time all around, I'd say. Worth watching. A lot of people love that show, and I can see why. But it didn't tickle my fancy, and it didn't get deep enough for me to give it anything more than a B. Okay. This is, dang it, what's it called? Your Lie in April. I watched 2 episodes of this, and I gotta say it's a D in my mind. It's so cloying, so like over emotional. You know right off the bat what's going to happen. It really leads itself, but expects you to be surprised at what's happening, and not surprised whatsoever. Just so much time spent on things I do not care about. And the weird thing is, you know, I'm a Christian. I don't know if you knew that, but the girl depends on like Jewish cult phraseology. She like speaks magic words over herself, including like El Elyon and El Shaddai, like all these Jewish terms for God, as well as like the use of a pentagram and all this other stuff that is really weird. These like word formulas that she prays to this thing, and it's really like uncomfortable that this is what she's drawing her power from, and she's this savant with the violin. And the main character is enthralled by her. I don't think she's that pretty. I think there's a very kind of ugly nose animation technique it just looks ugly to me, despite the fact that it's beautifully rendered. There's tons of color. It's very beautiful looking. I dislike the art style, and that's half of what's going on. And it's like occultic. You're supposed to love this girl who's getting ahead by using occultic means. Of course, the idea is that it's not her occultic nature that's doing this, it's her just her skill. But you know, I didn't see anything in the first 2 episodes that made me want to watch more. I was actually pretty darn bored throughout the whole thing. There wasn't anything funny about it. I didn't laugh at anything. I didn't feel emotional about it. Didn't tickle my fancy. Okay, what is this called? Dagnabbit, I love this show, whatever it's called. Black Prince and Wolf Girl and Black Prince, right? Yes. This show is up there with Aoharu Ride and Golden Time. I think there's like an in-between where this show should be in between Godlike and S, and these shows should be below it. I'll just put this in S, or Godlike. So, Wolf Girl to Black Prince shares a lot in common with Ao Haru Ride. The animation style is very similar, and it has also a lot in common with Lovely Complex, I think. Not a whole lot, and with Mischievous Kiss and His and Her Circumstances. It's that old style show where the guy is just a jerk, total jerk. He's basically a sadist. He even says so much. He's an S, and she's an M. So, that's going on. And she is seen as a dog by him. He's like, "Get down, dog," and she has to take it. But the interesting thing is she is learning assertiveness in this show. She is, again, downtrodden and very innocent, fragile, trying to get ahead by, less than perfect means, and he calls her out on it, but she's hopelessly in love with him, and he won't let her in, because he's been a bad boy, and he's very humble about it, but he just says what he means, and he socks this boy. He socks this guy in the head who tries to take advantage of her and make fun of her, and she takes this as him liking her. It's like, "Oh, you saved me," and he's like, "No, I didn't. That guy was just being a jerk." And so she woos him and then gets in a different relationship with the perfect guy, which didn't work out because there's nothing interesting about that guy. Poor guy. I relate to him a lot, but she goes back to him after she breaks up with this guy, and he gets all jealous, and so they figure out how to have a good relationship without all of the horrible put downs, but just in good fun. So anyway, not that deep, but it goes deep in one psychological area. And it's just really fun, really hilarious, some really hilarious moments in this, some good guffaws and gaffs, and I liked it. This one, I am not interested in seeing. He's too ugly. I know that's the point, but I don't care. Ooh, Uran High School Host Club. Not putting it in D. I really did love Uran High School Host Club. The art style itself is worthy. So worthy. I'd say S rank. Yeah, I didn't get that much out of Uran High School Host Club in terms of depth or emotion, but I did get a lot out of it in terms of comedy. It wasn't the funniest show I've ever seen, but the amount of depth in the comedy and the amount of depth in the romance really come together well to make it into a really solid show. Love the main character. The side characters and all the men are hilarious. Very interesting setup. I will say it's a very unique reverse harem situation, which really shows, I think, a very accurate depiction of the way that kind of what's the word? A girl who looks and kind of acts like a boy can still be feminine, the idea of androgeneity being something that anyone can live in, and yet still be the gender that you were born with, is, I think, really strong in this, and I really like that. She exists simultaneously as a male in the Uran High School Host Club, but which, females can fulfill a lot of male roles, especially if it's put on and you look like a man. But she also fulfills the role of a strong female character very well, and she doesn't have to grovel in the dirt and become like a a woman who cannot help herself, like Kaichua Maid-sama. She's a strong character to the end, and it doesn't lessen the power of the hero's journey at all. It doesn't lessen manhood at all. The men remain manly. I mean, at least a couple of them, and their relationship does blossom, and it's the relationship you want to blossom that blossoms. And I think that's really an amazing feat for an author to do, which I don't think Toradora did very well, at least not for me. They did well in Uran High School Host Club better. So, moving on. What is that? What the heck is that? Oh, don't know. Dang it, I was hoping I'd have seen more. This is a witch show. I think I saw one episode, but I can't remember it, so blah. What is that? Okay. Alright. I've seen less than I thought I did. What is this? That looks cool. I don't know. Oh, okay, the original Fruits Basket. This is a B. It's a strong B. It's a little too cliche for me to really get into it. I watched about 12 episodes, getting into the plot, into the meat of the plot, but I still, taking 12 episodes to actually get into the plot. You know this is going to be a long haul of a show, and each episode is a little bit boring, but it does have a very interesting, background, premise. All of the boys, it's another reverse harem, and all of the boys are different manifestations of the Zodiac. Dagnabbit. Okay. So the characters, the boys in this show, all represent different symbols of the Zodiac. Specifically, the Japanese Zodiac, which all has animals, according to it. And that has a big influence on the personalities of each guy. And, of course, each one of them is a potential mate of the main character girl. But she has her own goals and ambitions. She is poverty-stricken. She lives in a tent, and so, these guys find her and, allow her to stay in their house. So she's constantly around these guys, and she becomes their cook, and it's it's a fun romantic comedy. And it has established a lot of the cliches that we see nowadays. It is funny. It does have that, old kind of stick legs, sort of, really cartoony style of animation, but I really like it. Yeah, it's very nostalgic. It's a nostalgic time to watch this show, especially since it has a new version out these days. Oh yeah. This thing. I didn't see any of the anime. I've read a little bit of the manga. I don't want to put it in F since I haven't seen very much of it, but I'm going to put it in F because what I read of the manga I was not okay with. Let's just say that. I have no idea what this is. It's an interesting... This looks like a club of some kind. Have not seen. This looks... familiar. I know, same kind of animation style as Mischievous Kiss. Bakemonogatari. Woo! Okay, let's put this up here. It's godlike. Or S. S or God, I don't know. I prefer most of the rest of Bakemonogatari, like what happens after Bakemonogatari, more than the first season. I don't like What's-Her-Face that much. Scissor Girl, or Stapler Girl, whatever you want to call her. I love it, it's great, but the rest of Monogatari is really, I would say it's much better, gets into more depth. But if it were to represent all of Monogatari, it's all godlike. So, there you go. I cannot understand what my husband is saying. It was fun. I do not relate to it very much. I am not an alcoholic, nor am I a crazy otaku. So, they're a very cute couple, and that's what you get out of it. It is very edgy. I say edgy all the time, but that's maybe not the best word. It's very sexual. A lot of innuendo going on, which I do not appreciate. Even in a married state, it's like, dang, you don't have to be so crude, so forward about it. I'm a traditionalist. Lovely Complex, my favorite anime of all time, right up there with Trigun. Godlike. Do I have to say anything about this? Of course I do. I should actually. It's so. Okay. So, Lovely Complex is about a super tall girl, super tall, 5'6", and a short guy, 5'2", or he may even be 5 foot. In Japan, that is somewhat short for a guy, but very tall for a girl. I myself am 5'6", and I'm shorter than most of my compatriots. But she is seen as a giant, a giantess, an Amazon, as some translations put it. I've seen 2 translations of this. I probably watched this show like 8 times, and I've loved it every single time, gotten something else out of it. It grows on me, but the first time I watched it, I was going through a lot of emotional troubles with my most recent relational issues. And, again, redheaded main character. Both characters are redheaded in the anime. They have slightly different hair colors in the manga, but that's just kind of, it changes in the manga according to what the artist felt like. But redheads, both of them. Generally, they're both redheaded. Either they're both redheaded or blonde in the manga. But the redheaded, I like it better. Anyway, so it takes place in Osaka, and if you know anything about Japan, that is the kind of bumpkin town in which everyone speaks a very, very specific dialect, and they are made fun of for their dialect, but it's also one of the most well-known popular accents. It's like, wow, that's funny and it's cool, and it's weird, and I like it too. It sounds really cool to me. It's very interesting. It's a bit softer than normal Japanese, and they're very well known for saying "nandaneng," which is like they swallow their words, which means basically "what the heck" or "what the hell," and that's a very important part of this show. It's very centered in Osaka, in the culture of Osaka. They go to a lot of the tourist places for field trips in high school to high school drama. And of course, the complex that is going on is that both of these characters have a complex over their height, that they can't really get into a good relationship because if you're a man, you're supposed to be taller than the girl you like, and if you're a girl, you're supposed to be shorter than the boy you like. And that's even more true, I think, in Japan than it is here. But it's generally true wherever you go. And so everyone tends to think of Risa, the main character girl, as kind of the masculine, like source of comedy in the room. She's always over the top, always yelling. She is a gaming otaku to an extent, and oh man, I love this show so dearly. The style of animation is very kind of sketchy. It's very One Piece like as well. Very long characters, and especially Risa because she's super tall. She's the giraffe, and the boy Koizumi is like he kind of overcompensates. He has a Napoleon complex. So it's both of their complexes coming together, and they really have to work it out with each other. And Risa really loves him, but he doesn't really love her. But they get along like mad, like a house on fire. And everyone seems to see that they are destined for each other, but Koizumi. And the way that Risa, no, Koizumi is Risa's name. What is his name? Otani. Otani and Koizumi Risa. they're kind of opposites in a way, but they are both like super into comedy. They are really reactionary, and in Japan, it's the you know straight man routine that is like the most well known and the most historically accepted comedy style in Japan is the straight man routine, and they're both just ridiculous together. They're called a comedy duo. The comedy is on point in this show. It's a little bit too rough sometimes. Sometimes they're just absolutely going at it with just crude insults like all the time, and it's like, whoa, cool it there, Otani. You're calling this girl the horrible words. But it's back and forth, and it's very realistic in the way that it shows the emotions of young people. And all kind of crazy antics happen that are very interesting. It kind of turns into a shonen sports show. Otani is a basketball player, and Risa just loves that about him and is like really supportive, like hyper supportive of his basketball. And there are other characters that get involved. Not super well developed side characters, but they're always there to fulfill their role and getting together with other people. But it's very satisfying, especially in the end. But it stops right at the end of high school, and you're like, what's going to happen? Are they going to get married or not? And they don't know. But that's kind of life, If you're going to put an ending somewhere, it's going to be in the middle of a bunch of stuff you care about. But I learned a lot about relationships and emotions and my way of dealing with emotions through that anime. Because I too have kind of a shortness complex, a Napoleon complex. I at least did in high school, and just again the enduring love of the girl for the guy is heroic, and I love it. So what is this? Don't know. Haven't seen it. And Nisekoi. Nisekoi? F. I watched like 24 episodes of it, and it just kept going on and on and on and on and on and on. The characters are beautiful. The backgrounds are beautiful, very like neo-Victorian backgrounds with modern clothing, fashion sense. Very interesting the way that it looks. But it's very cliched. It's basically a worse version of Golden Time. The blonde-haired girl that's really over the top and flashy comes in, and she's just overwhelming everyone with her beauty and her spunk. But there's the brunette girl who is obviously best girl. Everyone loves her. Nobody likes her, and nobody likes the redhead. Of course, I like the redhead. But it's obviously a love triangle. It's a love rectangle, actually. The main guy loves all three girls, and all three girls love him back. And so that's a problem, and it just goes in cycles. Who he's with, who he cares about, going through their lives, and I got really tired of it. It's like, something happened, something important, change these characters, make them different, make them make decisions. But it just like, they kept trying to add fuel to the fire to keep it going, to make sure that there was more anime to watch or more manga, and it's really cliche, and I hate it. So, moving on. Not that it doesn't have good stuff about it, I'm sure. It was a very popular show. Got 2 seasons, I believe. Snow White of the Red Hair. I should watch the rest of that. It is a red-haired protagonist, so. But the first episode just seemed like the femme fatale with a prince who fights for her cliche, and I that didn't interest me. What is, again, don't know. Don't know. That's a weird hairstyle. They both look so young. It's ridiculous. They're probably grown-ups. Okay, what is this? Oh. I can't remember what this is, but because of the girl on the bottom right, I'm going to put it up here. What is this? You know, I'm gonna put it unseen. I just can't remember. Oh boy. Ah. Yeah, I haven't seen that. Okay. That's fine. That's okay. It's getting a big list. Sheesh. This I remember vaguely. Very interesting style. But nope, don't even remember an episode. Ah, I'm losing. What? Is this Biosco? Is this 5 centimeters per second? If so, it was okay. It was fine. um, again, so tropic. It was beautiful to a degree, not very animated, or at least not as animated as it could have been. What it was consistent and sad, tragic, but not a lot happens, and not much to say about it. This is a garden of words. This is the best looking anime I have ever seen, and the story is not too bad either. It's very foot fetishistic, but it kind of turns into a more mature, real life tale, like cautionary tale of, I wouldn't say cautionary, but just like, be careful, kids. This younger guy is a shoemaker coming out of high school, and he meets this gal, this woman, full grown woman. She's probably like 8 years older than he is. But they fall in love, and it's sad because she has to leave the country, I think, and she doesn't want to get into a relationship that's destined to fail, but she does end up actually revealing that she loves him, and that whole arc is really powerful and well done. Um, so it's interesting. It's like it's really all about a younger person being in love with an older person that they shouldn't really be with yet. But the hope is laid out there that maybe in the future they could be together. And they cry and they hug and they have to leave and separate. But what happened in the course of this tragic fate was worth it and was absolutely beautiful. I've never seen CGI and traditional animation married so perfectly. It's just, oh, stunning. Like, watch this movie. Well, it's a movie, I believe. Garden of Words. Do it. This looks crazy. I don't know what that is. I didn't say I'd seen all romance anime. Just more than Digipro. Let's see. Relife. One of the most disappointing shows of all time. I put it in D. Yes. It's one of those shows where, I say one of those, there aren't that many, but an older man is really sad about his life, really depressed. He's basically an 18-year-old in a 28-year-old's body. Like, he wishes to go back to when he was 20, or when he was 18, or at least, and relive his life as a young person, because he is just in the 9 to 5 job, and he drinks with his companions at work, but he really doesn't know, and that's his whole life, and he doesn't have a life outside of that. Um, and he just hates his life, but he has all these good memories of the past, and his job is basically a dead-end job, and he might lose it, and someone comes up to him and says, "Hey, do you wish that you could go back in time?" And he's like, how did you know? And the salesman gives him a pill that allows him to return to that time. And it's very, like, I don't know why that works, but it does. And it's unexplained. It's basically sci-fi magic. And he goes back in time, um, and experiences life again as an 18-year-old, but with the mind of a 28-year-old. And really all that happens is he helps other people with their problems in high school. It's very much just a Clannad story again, getting involved with different people's lives, and being the good guy. Everyone kind of makes fun of him because he talks like an older man. But and the weird thing about this show is that it makes out being 28 as if it's like over the hedge. It's over the hill, man. Your best years are behind you. Because I guess they really think that in Japan. I'm 27 years old, and I'm talking about anime here. I am not that old. At least I don't feel it. And but he does, I guess, just because he went into the real world, the career world of Japan. He feels like he's aged 30 years or something. And he talks as if he's an old man, like his legs and his back hurt when he tries to run, which doesn't make any sense because he's in a younger man's body. So why? What? Like there's a lot of really illogical plot points. Don't make any sense. They're totally plot holes. And he has a good time. He gets other people into good relationships. He returns forward in time, and I think he meets up eventually with the girl that he knew in high school. And I think they get together, but it's very like quick and not very well done. I don't know. It was very disappointing. The best thing I can say about it is there was a very unique color situation going on with each of the people's skin tones. Everyone had a different skin tone to everyone else. And I've never seen that before. It's like certain people were actually yellow, some people were pink, some people were tan, and it really works. And you can see that in just the cover. It's colorful but also washed out, which I think is a really cool stylistic choice. But unfortunately, it was just a very tropic, like boring show in the end. What is this? I'm pretty sure I can find that in romance anime. It seems very familiar. I believe I've seen an episode or two of it. There it is. Masamune-kun no Revenge. Revengey. Maybe not. Maybe not. It's been on, like, my watch list, but I think it's too much of a fan service show, so I haven't actually tuned in to watch it. So, yeah, not really, not seen that before. Like, the fact that the legs take up half of the screen tells you something about it. What is this? I might as well try for that, look that up. Okay, so Nagi no Asukara is the name of the fish show. Oh boy, I could not get myself to watch any more than like 12 episodes of that. Or wait, did I watch 12 episodes? Anyway, whatever amount that I watched, I stopped. Okay, so that's Orange. I haven't seen that, obviously. I say obviously, but it's not obvious. Doodly-doo. Lovely Complex is so good. I could cry again just thinking about it. Okay, Boku wa Tomodachi ga Sukanai next is that one that was super crude and I hated it. Doodly 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 doodly. Yeah, I'm not finding it. Nope. Oh well. Oh, this one I have in my watch list. It has a very high rating. It sounds very dark. I don't know what that is. No, I know what that is, but I haven't seen it. What? That's an interesting cover. School days. School days, very inappropriate. Very inappropriate, no matter who you are. But it started that trend of the insane girlfriends. Both of these girls on the front end up being insane because of the crazy stupid, knuckle-headed jerk things that the main character does. The protagonist is just like, all he cares about is his junk, is his crotchile region. His brain is down there, and that's all he cares about. And so that causes problems, right? And murder, death, fornication ensues, and it shows all the negatives of being obsessed with sex over relationship and kindness. And I think the best girl actually wins and beheads the other girl. And, or no, she kills the other girl, beheads the main character, and keeps his head with her as she goes out to sea. And isn't that marvelous? Anyway, it's that type of show. The animation is really poor, so there's nothing really to recommend it. It's just one of those shows, kind of like Boku no Pico, that's like it's a hazing ritual, you know? You have to watch that if you're to call yourself anybody. And I watched the whole thing, and I like the yandere trope, but in this, it's just gross. You really feel bad after seeing it. Like, what did I just watch? Just watch the ending if you want the yandere gore, I guess. But it's gore again, and so, I don't know. Eromanga Sensei. F. Not much to say about that. I watched a couple of episodes. I kind of regretted it. I felt dirty afterwards, even though it's like the most tame fan service show ever. The concepts shown in it and just the lack of moral fiber in the writer of this show, it's yeah, I regret it. I watched a whole review of it, like no holds barred review, and I'm like, yep, not watching that. This seems familiar, but I know I haven't seen it. I know what I've seen. Actually, I have to trust myself. New game. Is that what this is? Or gamers? No, new game. Yes. Okay, so this show was weird because it was just okay. It had a really promising start, and I loved all of the characters. There's the president of the video gaming club, and she's really interested in the main character. And she finds out about his eroge problem. He's really into video games, and especially sensual ones, and dating sims. And so she figures this out about him and is like, please join our gaming club. And he is really into her. He like has had a crush on her forever, and he like goes in for a while, for a few days, to see if he wants to be in the club. And everyone is like a hardcore gamer, like trying to make money in tournaments and get better at fighting games and shooting games, at all the games they can get better at. And he doesn't care. He is a literally casual gamer. He plays games on his phone. He plays mobile games all the time. He plays MOBAs. He doesn't care about winning. All he cares about is the experience, just like me. And that's very relatable to me. But the girl, because he rejected her, she's never been rejected by anyone. She's the rich shoujo princess that gets everything she wants. And she is ticked off by him, so she hates him at first for not joining the club. And you know, he had this little internal struggle for a little bit, that he really likes her, she's beautiful, but he's not going to be in the club that she's in because that would be deceitful. And she's like, man, if he likes me, he'll do whatever he can to get into my club, because, you know, she doesn't want to admit that she likes him. Of course, then she turns into an absolute mess because she gets so obsessed with seducing him. And so she just is staring at him all the time because he had the fortitude to reject her. He still likes her. And then all these other characters that like him are like trying to support him, but also trying to get him to realize that they like him at the same time. And it's this big, huge love triangle, which is really unnecessary. But she ends up basically humiliating herself in saying that she loves him because he is like the least important guy on the social hierarchy in the school. And like people start distancing themselves from her, and she becomes kind of anathema to the rest of the school because of him. But then they start becoming a couple, which is really awkward. And so they decide to have this like militaristic way of communicating in which one person is the lead, is the general, and has to obey the other one, and whoever starts it has to lead, and the other one has to follow. It's really weird and it's really funny, but it's really realistic because people are really awkward at that age. And so it's a fun time, and I like the two main characters, but there are all of these different side characters that start to come in and to like make the show less focused. And so all of these other characters have to try their hand at getting in a relationship with the main character. And it's all for naught. We all know what's going to happen. The main girl is the only one that is going to get it, you know? And she is very slow on the uptake. So all of these other girls are rushing in to fill the void. And he cares nothing for them. He's a nice guy, so he allows them to follow him around and all this. But it's the good old harem recipe that works all the time, but he has to deny each and every other girl. And really, like, you don't know what the future is going to be for these two main characters because they're not that great together. They're very awkward. And the show ends and they're getting slightly less awkward, I guess, but there's no clue as to whether or not they'll stay together. It's very, like, it ends and you're like, oh, well, they sure made a lot of people sad, and are they perfect for each other? I don't know. So, anyway, C rank. It's okay to watch. It's fun. Why did I put this there? Why? Oh, I don't know. Is there any value in watching School Days? I don't think so. Let me just put that down there. Well, oh, I can't. Okay, I'll put it in F. It's very over the top, so that it has that going for it. All right, next is Kimi no Na wa. This is a good one. This is very good. I wouldn't say it's godlike, but it is very good. Excellent movie. I'd say it's a 7 out of 10, but amongst romance anime, it may be higher. Because it does all the cliches that we know about, body shifting and high school and forgetting each other and time travel. All of these things that are very like mundane are put together in an enjoyable package. It's like the full experience of romance anime. It's everything at the same time. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in A. It's all right. It's good. It's excellent, but it's just all right, if that makes sense. There's not a whole lot for me to say about it. It was very confusing. I will say that the spiritual side of it was very confusing. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. And yeah. I mean, it was fulfilling. It was a good show. But was it better than these? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say yes. Okay. S tier is a little overstacked, I think. It's very odd trying to put things into a 7-tier scale when I'm used to 10s, but okay, this is a good one. I really like this one. For what it is, it's not a very well done show. Gosh, what is it called? Can I zoom in? Probably not. Gamer girl. Gamer girl. Hmm. Uh, aha! Moriko Morioka. Netju no Susume. Um, Netju no Susume, or Recovery of an MMO Junkie. It's very poor animation quality, but it has that indie flavor to it, where it's like you could tell they were trying their best and they were doing some experimental art styles to get over the hump of poor production quality and time crunch. But in the end, it really pays off, and I like the style of it. It's one of those shows where the girl is an otaku, and well, the reason why she's an otaku is because she was in a career. She was a career jobber, and, well, that's probably not the right thing to say, worker, in cubicles and things. She was a manager at one point, but the corporate world just ate her and spat her out, and now she has lost the will to live in society, and so she just retreats into video games. She has enough saved up to quit her job and live by herself with nothing else going on for a long time. And she was a very high-paying job. She had a very high-paying job, and so she's in this MMO world, and she starts making relationships for the first time in a long, long time, ever since before she got into her career. And so she's become a wreck of a person, an absolute wreck, very awkward, socially inept. And the only way that she can make friends is by pretending to be a boy in an MMO RPG online. And she starts to meet people, and she starts to meet people in real life who were meeting her online. It's the the fantasy of an MMO junkie, that someday someone whom they like in the game will end up liking them in real life, and it works out perfectly. And she gets brought out of herself and stops being such a hobo, and learns to take care of herself and to love this other guy. The funny thing is, though, that because she's a man, she's pretending to be a guy, nobody knows that she's a girl, and this other guy starts being who is playing as a girl himself, just because he likes the character, design of girls. He starts falling in love with her in the RPG, and they don't know each other's genders in the RPG, but they end up falling in love anyway, which is actually pretty realistic. The fact is that most guys who play MMOs do not play as their own gender, and the same thing with girls, So the likelihood of the person you meet online actually being the gender that they have chosen is pretty low. So they end up being different genders in the game and different genders in real life. How convenient. So that's a funny thing about it. It's very funny, and very endearing, but it doesn't really reach the heights of a lot of other shows. So yeah, it's just really good. I liked it this much, but your mileage will probably vary. So we have a few left here. This is that rain one, something about rain. Haven't seen this either. This seems no. Where did that go? I have no idea. Disappeared. This one. This is new, full CGI show. I hate the look of it, but the girl looks cute, so I might give it a shot. Okay, here we go. What is this? It's called... Crap, I cannot remember. Okay, I found it. Love is Hard for an Otaku is what this is. I was trying to remember the Japanese name, but I couldn't remember it. Life is Hard for an Otaku, or Love is Hard for an Otaku, is a very lovable show, very fun. I watched it, and it's about adults, which is different. They're all out of college, and they're in a job, and all of them, all four characters, are otaku in one way or another. Each of them is a different type of otaku, and it's two couples. And the intro, I would say, is a classic of intros, an intro among intros, so to speak. It's very well done, very well. I think the choreography was done with rotoscoping, and is a little dance with hand gestures that's very cute. I watched that OP so many times, just burning those moves and those gestures, that animation into my brain because it's so attractive. This show looks so good, so much of the time. It's not consistent at all, but the character designs are really nice. And the fact of the matter is that it's two couples that are totally in love. Um, and that's the entire show. It's about these adults who get together and play games and hang out and drink, I guess, alcohol. And unexpectedly, they fall in love. Although it's expected, because why else are we watching this show? It's not really one of those shows where it's like, will he like me back? It's like, these two love each other, just get going. So it's interesting. It's all about adults living their lives like children on the inside, which is totally fine, actually, in real life. It's just the problem is finding other otaku, and these people find each other very quickly and very easily, and it's just a nice, happy time. So, if you're into that, go for it. It's really fun. Okay, Bunny Girl Senpai. This show started off really strong. I watched the first 4 episodes, and if the show stopped at episode 4, this might be like up here or so. But as it is, it's down here because the first arc is the main character learning about Bunny Girl Senpai. There's some supernatural things going on here. I think it's called puberty syndrome, where you just feel like everything around you is fake, or like you don't exist in the world, that society doesn't care about you, etc., etc., etc. And this girl becomes so obsessed with that idea that she actually starts to become invisible to everyone except for the main character. And so one day she is testing out and experimenting with the fact that she's invisible by wearing a bunny girl costume, a provocative bunny girl costume, in the middle of a library. And only one person notices, and it's the main character. He falls in love with her and tries to figure out how to get her back into the real world. He talks to the best girl in the show, and in many years, I think, scientist girl with, the the shaggy gray hair and dark under the eyes, big bags under her eyes. And she knows everything about science that there is to know. She's like, she's in high school, but she's a genius. And she knows everything there is to know about physics. And there are these physics theories that have relevance to each one of these supernatural occurrences. And so once the guy talks to her, figures out what to do, he's able to do something socially and talk to people out, talk things through, and prove that these supernatural things actually happen. Him and his sister have a self-deprecating problem, and whenever they get really hard on themselves, there are these cuts, these claw marks that show up upon them, and so that's like one of those supernatural occurrences because they became so depressed. And it's a very kooky, corny show, but it has a lot of emotional resonance. So, but that's where it starts going wrong. It has emotional resonance with every female character in the high school. Once it started getting into another girl's arc, I was like, oh no, it's just going to happen again and again and again. And I was right. I didn't watch to the end. I got bored. I got tired. And I skipped it. I skipped the rest. I really liked the first arc, and I think that the main character and the Brenny girl should have stayed together and not been apart very much. It's the same problem that Bakemonogatari has, where the main character is like basically engaged to this girl, but he keeps having all of these different rendezvous with all of these different girls. And it's like, is she okay with that? Probably not. But she kind of is, and then he's okay with it, and he gets into all these weird relationships, and he has to break up with all of them. It's like, it's so weird and stupid, but it's a very strong trope in Japanese anime, and I wish anime would get over it. But it's not gonna go anytime soon. So let's get through the rest of this list. It will not be long. Yeah, I haven't seen it. Clannad! At last. At long last, we have Clannad. And, yeah, I think that's where it fits. Probably. Yeah, I liked Clannad a lot more than Canon. I think Canon has a little bit more arcs that I actually enjoyed, but Clannad is much more consistent. It's just a happy-go-lucky comedy most of the time, romantic comedy, with silly. It's very silly. The main character is a trickster. He's mischievous and kind of a jerk sometimes, and you know from the beginning who he is going to end up with. But he doesn't get with her immediately, and he has all of these different adventures with all these different characters who have supernatural and emotional problems. And just like the previous show we just talked about, Bunny Girl Senpai. This show does it better, though. Everyone feels like they have a role to play in terms of a hierarchy of friendships. It's not just, oh, there's this girl, and I like her, and there's this girl, and she's beautiful, and this girl, and she's beautiful too. Who will I pick? It's like, no, there's this girl I really like. Maybe I'll spend a little time with you. Man, you're messed up. Dude, someone has to fix you. Let's go do something together and help you, you know? And then that kind of keeps happening throughout the show. And the subplot of like the otherworldly robot and the girl in the field really kept me invested, and the mystery surrounding all the supernatural happenings really made me want to keep watching. And I got used to the comedy, which isn't that great. It's very silly, but it's not like I barely chuckled throughout the whole show. But the characters are very emotionally sincere. They're very real, well developed, and layered. There are levels to each person, and that is really difficult to pull off. And every character is very memorable. But it does really feel like a dating game, which is what it came from. But and then the second season is basically just the relationship that the main character has with the main girl, and them getting married, them having a family, and dealing with the problems of the mystical chances that the main character has missed to help all the people he could have helped. And that culminates in him losing his wife and child. And that is like absolutely shocking for a silly little romance comedy like this. I mean, the whole thing has a lot of emotional resonance, a lot of emotional depth, but that kind of death in this show, it's very dark. It takes a sudden turn at the end, and that really kind of heightens the show a little bit beyond what it was before. But it is very Oscar baity. If you don't like that, then you won't enjoy this. It's just kind of like, well, the show made me cry. I knew it would, you know. So it's very manipulative, but I feel like it's manipulative in a good way. It's like, if you want to cry, you should watch this show. So it's S tier. I enjoyed it, at least. What is this? What is it? I don't know. There's so many I haven't seen. This one I've seen a little bit of, and I'm not interested. Oh man, I need to see Inuyasha. Gosh darn it. Senkaria. That's a good show. I say that tentatively. Again, starts out very strongly. The animation in the first episode is very interesting. The backgrounds are like minimalist abstract paintings sometimes, and like maybe some industrial stuff, like these thick like lines, like 3 lines of panes of windows in this old abandoned ruined office building is where, and there's a well, just outside. So it's like this main character who has like ears. His hair is in the shape of ears, right? So that shows that there's a stylistic, really stylistic focus in this show's design, and it's really cool. I really love the design, and it's about a zombie girl. This guy is in love with zombie girls. He has a zombie fetish, and this girl turns out to be a zombie, and what do you know? They fall in love. And it turns out she has like a jealous father who doesn't know she's dead. And he has basically, everyone else knows she's dead, or at least expects she's dead, but she's alive in his house. And so he has to deal with this beautiful girl living in his house, trying to keep her away from everyone else. So anyway, it's very edgy and interesting at first, but then it degrades into the old-fashioned like political drama where the king has to have a duel with the boy. The father of the daughter has to have a duel with the boy, and they have this long talk about honor and decency and who has the moral high ground, and it became pretentious all of a sudden and cliched at the same time. And so it could have risen to higher heights had it stepped up over the normal romantic comedy tropes that weigh it down, but it doesn't, so that's unfortunate. I don't know. I would recommend this to people who are interested in both romance and zombies, because that's what that is. But and the characters are lovable, they're likable, and they live in like this old tiny village that's barely reached by technology. And then of course there is a redhead. It's also very fan servicey though. It's just kind of in the middle. There are a lot of things that go for it and a lot of things against it. So that's what I'm going to do. This is not the type of show I watch ever. Okay, so this show, yes, this show is great. I don't know if it's deserving of S tier being alongside Clannad, but it is really good. It's in terms of comedy, this show is really high on my list of anime comedy. I laughed out loud every episode at something. It is a little crude in every episode, which is something I dislike, but it throws a wide net of humor. Not wide enough for some people, though. I think you have to be in a certain mindset to like this show's comedy. It's very classic humor, though. It's humor about pride. And if you've ever been proud and in love before, you know exactly what's going on here, and it's hilarious the extent to which these people go to hide their intentions behind a mask of pride. It's great. I would recommend it to anybody who likes anime and who likes comedy. Also, the Chica dance is in it, and it's wondrous. Again, one of those endings that I watched many, many times. I think it actually doesn't happen until the 3rd episode. Like, there are multiple endings. I think there are 3 in total. But yeah, I loved this show. I love the eye design. I think I've said this in the Kimetsu no Yaiba videos that I did in Caesar, but the eye design is very interesting. Every character has a different eye design, completely different. The main character, though, is... Oh, even... What is the name of this, even? I forgot. Oh, man. Something Sama. Anyway, her eyes are absolutely gorgeous, and they have no pupils. It's like they're bubbly red, and that's all there is to it. It's very interesting, the design of the eyeballs, and I really like the artistic design, the design of the clothing. It's very traditional. Not much fan service at all. Of course, Chica is very well endowed, pink haired. But yeah, I love this show. It's cute. It's funny. It's romantic to a certain degree. It's mainly just funny and cute, and those are the things that I really like. And I can relate to some of the ridiculous antics. Oh, there's Ranma 1/2. Okay. I'm gonna say I haven't seen it. No? Okay, well, this is the type of show that I don't even remember. It's kind of like, oh, what is it? What is that comedy that everyone likes? It's like samurai, alien, space comedy. Anyway, it's like I watched a bunch of episodes and can't remember any of them. I never laughed once. The shape shifting and body shifting was not very interesting to me. It was incredibly inappropriate at certain points, but you know, a lot of people like it. It's classic, but I didn't get anything out of it. Really, I don't think it's F deserving. But here is my tier list. I am finished. So anyway, thanks for watching. This took a while, and I'll edit it down to the necessary points. So there you have it. This is what I think of the romance anime in this list. There's far more, and I've seen a lot more than this. But there you go. This is a list for me to watch. I'll try to get on that. So until next time, farewell. Let me know what kind of video you would like me to do next, whether it be a tier list or a Caesar or a full anime review of a whole show. Yeah, till next time, farewell. Thanks for watching.